Hello. So, seasonal as always. I want to talk about Christmas. Um, why I hear you cry. Well, today is exactly 8 weeks since Christmas. Okay, so 8 weeks, 4 months. I can't do the maths that quickly, but a lot of days. All right, so the reason I want to talk about Christmas is because I'd like us to just recognise that a full 8 weeks and however many days have gone by since Christmas Day. Okay. For those of you who don't celebrate, for those of you who, for whatever reason, don't recognise Christmas Day as a big deal, this really isn't for you. You're already kind of clued up in where I'm going with this. Okay, so feel into that. It's 8 weeks since. Okay. Hi. How much has happened between now and Christmas? The time has flown. I will grant you. But how much has happened? How many times have you been to work? How many times have you put the bins out? How many times have you had a brew? How many times have you had a coffee? How many times have you cooked? How many times have you been to the toilet? It might have gone quickly, but when we bring it down to, what we've done within a certain time, even in the minutiae, it's been a long time since Christmas. Okay. Now I want you to cast your mind back and feel into the 8 weeks mark before Christmas. And how were you feeling 8 weeks before Christmas? Were you excited? Were you feeling lonely? Were you feeling in the pits of dread as to how the hell you were going to make this happen in 8 weeks? Were you feeling pressured, bamboozled? Every time you walked into a supermarket, was there any escape from the fact that in 8 weeks it was going to be Christmas? Okay. I can almost feel the collective panic and overwhelm of 8 weeks before Christmas. Okay. I can feel it every year when it comes. But the run up to Christmas for me is a very it's a very dualistic time. I get it. I don't want to be a Grinch. I have 2 young children. I had amazing Christmases myself as a child because I was raised as a Catholic, I might add. I was raised in a church going household. We went to church every Sunday religiously. We did all the high days and holidays. We had all our sacraments. I'm very much lapsed, and I'm into a very different, walk of life. And I left Catholicism as soon as I was allowed to. But the point is, our lives and our social lives, particularly, revolved around the church calendar. So a big deal was made of church feasts. We had lots of presents. My mum did a very good job of decorating a house. We had Christmas. It was a lot simpler than these days. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but we did have all the fanfare. I cannot sit here and go, that has never been part of my life. It absolutely has been. But when I was an adult, I went to live in Spain. I went to live in Ibiza for 12 years. And I spent 18 months on the mainland. But so I always sort of have to, I don't know why I have to always put that in, but I did. But, the majority of that 12 years was spent on Ibiza. I had 2 children in that time. It's done very differently there. That is a Catholic country. Most people there are from a Catholic family origin. And it's done very, very, very differently. Yes, there is pomp around, lights and the food. The food is a massive thing. What they're going to eat on Christmas Eve, what they're going to eat on the Kings, which is the 6th. You know, as a holiday, as a festival, as a festivity, it is massive. But the commercial side of it just isn't. And so I spent 12 years over there. And when I came back, I have to say, I was absolutely, nearly really swell then, horrified by what it has become here. And I'm not standing in judgment, because I'm not even talking about just the obvious stuff like toys and Christmas Eve boxes and, you know, new pajamas for every single member of the family. You know, all of these things that have become customary, which I just don't get. I'm talking about walking into a supermarket and there being literally a full aisle of God knows how many meters and God knows how many meters high of just Christmas chocolate. Like, it's excessive to the extreme, the whole thing. And the fact that it starts in kind of August is bizarre, you know. So I just think that there's this runaway train of commercialism surrounding what was probably already a feast of excess in many ways many years ago. Okay, I'm not doing people down here. I'm just saying that what that then creates, because at the same time we've got massive, more financial disparity than there has ever been. Now, people can say that there isn't. There absolutely is, because what you have is you have this massive wealth, this massive wave of people, majority people with absolutely bugger all, and yet they are exposed to all the technology that is available, all of the commercial things that are available, the normalizing of people wearing high-end designer gear, you know, like the, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, let's say, Hollywood was kind of untouchable, you know, and I'm not getting into all that. I know the depths of the horrors of what they're at, but I'm saying that there was people who were celebrated as, you know, people we may aspire to be, were up here and kind of untouchable. We couldn't possibly hope to be as beautiful or wear the same clothes or things like that. You know, it was all the way up here. Now we have this culture of the people who are being followed, or the people who are celebrity, quote unquote, are people on, you know, Love Island and things like that. These very normal people, and yet they have all the trappings of somebody who makes a blockbuster film. You know, like, it's a really weird kind of wavy gravy world that we live in these days. So there is, in terms of the disparity, the people at a level of real poverty have a sort of very stark mirror of what they don't have all the time, that other people have, that they feel are like them, you know. So why don't I have? So in Christmas being what it is now makes this massive, like, cauldron of making people feel inadequate. Either they don't have the perfect family, or who does, but, you know, either they don't have the perfect family, either they don't have enough money to get the perfect gift. You know, the financial strains of people, especially in the last 3 years, have meant that, you know, for some it's just a nightmare. You know, it's an absolute nightmare. And I think in actual fact it has been for a lot of people for a very, very, very long time. But my point is this: for the sake of that one day and all that run up, we are now 8 weeks ago, and I would imagine that whatever shortcomings you felt at Christmas, whatever loneliness or, you know, feelings of inadequacy you felt in that run up to Christmas, I would imagine they've dissipated by now because there's not that intensity around it. You may still have all those same issues, you may still have those same problems, but they will have dissipated because it's not this thing of there should be this one day where everything's perfect. So that's why I want you to remember we're 8 weeks past. How were you 8 weeks before? How did you feel on the day? And let's get a bit of fucking perspective maybe for next year. Can we remember where we are now and go, I'm not engaging in that play next year. I'm not. And I am not talking about not celebrating. I am not talking about not having time with family, customs, traditions, whatever. I am talking about not creating such absolute danger within your system that, you are endangering your mental health, you're endangering your physical health, you are endangering your financial health for the sake of a day. And in many cases, not just endangering, obliterating. Are any of you still paying off Christmas? Are we, is the effect of January, this idea of January blues, this idea of, when all the lights come down and, we're just left with the shit weather, all of that stuff. What is this peak? Because in actual fact now, that peak, that enjoyable peak, is only for a very small number of people. So that's my kind of first half of this musing in terms of safety. The high days and holidays of commercial Western society have actually become very unsafe for us, energetically, emotionally, bodily, financially, and any other way that you can think of. Okay. Again, I'm not judging what you did. I'm asking you to reflect on how it all feels 8 weeks after. Was the run-up okay? When it's too close in and around Christmas, because we've got all this emotion, we've got all these memories of Christmases gone by, we've got all this longing for people that are no longer with us, we've got all this self-made, and thank you for sharing your water with me, we've got all this self-made and imposed angst and performance anxiety almost about Christmas and how well we're going to perform, and yet we many people are very far removed from the how many people are celebrating somebody called Jesus Christ being born, in all honesty, right now. Onward from that, Christmas is at Christmas, not because the Bible says Jesus was born on the 25th of December, but because around Christmas there are these ancient celebrations of the light within the darkness. Okay, now because it is in the northern hemisphere, it is our darkest time, which is where these celebrations of Yule, and Yule is what I'm talking about, come from. They come from Norway and the sort of very, very depths of the northern hemisphere and the depths of winter. This idea in places where there's an hour of light in a day around that time, around the winter solstice. The idea of Yule and the idea of there are reflections of this in many other religions. We have Diwali, the festival of light, all in around this time. We have Hanukkah, which again is the lights, it's the lighting of candles. So we have this concept of when we are in this darkness, there is a light that can be found. And the original concept of this was creating the light, creating and cultivating light when all around you seems dark. It is this potentiality in the depths of winter that lies beneath the snow, you know, that there is this, we cannot see, all around looks dead, but really what's happening is the brand new life of a brand new natural year is within and is ready to shine forth. So that is why we celebrate Christmas when we do, is because the church, as it was, took this concept of the light within the winter, and Jesus was the light of the world, and they made it into Christmas at that time of year. It's this idea of it being slightly off the solstice is a bit dodgy, if I'm honest with you, when you look at it energetically, because the solstice is so powerful, and the emphasis is taken just a couple of days later, so nobody really, in the last couple of 100 years has paid too much attention to the solstice. So we've got to redress that balance. We've got to really go into the real energetic portal and celebrate in a true way. So I believe, and I have been guided to believe, that the new kind of world and the new offering is going to be the best of what we've already had, and not being afraid to lose the dross. Okay, so if we think about this in terms of celebrations and traditional celebrations, and I'm using Christmas only as an example, can we get back or move forward into the real message of that and not the trappings? Okay. Can we feast in winter and celebrate abundance when all around us looks like it's not very abundant, which is great. But does that mean spending 15 grand on a day? No, it doesn't. Can we get back to, yes, gathering our nearest and dearest in a safe and celebratory manner in a time of darkness, when it's difficult to see the light easily? Can we recognize the true wheel of the year as it relates to the natural world? Now, me coming across the sort of pagan wheel of the year was absolutely mind-blowingly, game-changingly, revelatory when I came across it and realized that these feasts that I had always celebrated as a child were actually deriving time-wise from a very natural, earthy measurement of time that coincides with what the world outside was doing. I'm from the Northern Hemisphere, so I'm talking in that respect because that is my ancestral root. So yeah, it's again, with these videos, they are an invitation for you to explore. They are an invitation for you to go and look at the pagan wheel of the year. And they are an invitation for you to really be honest about what doesn't work about this setup that we've had for the last few decades. What do we not want to take forward? Do we want to have our celebrations surrounded and enshrouded by chaos and disheartening and financial crippling and massive pressure? Or do we want to make celebrations celebratory? I'm inviting you to clock how you're feeling now. Go in, ask, how do you feel now from this vantage point? Looking back, how do you feel about last Christmas, and how do you want to feel about the next one? Now, being honest about that and maybe looking into the future of that if you want to feel differently, you're going to have to do things differently. This is the thing about investigation of ourselves and our lives. It's one thing to, a lot of things you just need to shine a light on it, and that's great. Other things, it takes a bit of bravery to make the changes in behavior and actually alter where we're going. Okay, I'm going to leave that with you now. So we're 8 weeks ago. How do we feel? 8 weeks before Christmas, how do we feel? In honesty, is there anything you'd like to flip? If not, all power to you. I wish you all the best with your next one. If the answer is yes, can we step into the bravery to make the changes? And my final and most heart-wanting kind of offering from this is look into the pagan wheel of the year. I'm not suggesting you become a pagan. That is not what, I don't recognize myself as a pagan. I am just simply saying look into it. Particularly if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, look into how that correlates with what you are seeing around you seasonally, and become inspired by it. Become inspired by the connection between time, the elements, and what you're seeing around you, and bring it all into relation with your life and celebration. True, heartfelt, soul-felt celebration. I posted a meme many years ago that I post every single year on Facebook, that said, get naked, drink mead and party like a pagan, because Christmas spent queuing at Argos is just bollocks. And I post it every single year because it's true. Christmas, in a lot of respects, in some of the stuff we've got used to being told is the thing, is bollocks. Can we get back to getting naked and drinking mead and party and celebrating and getting together in all those lovely, juicy, amazing ways we can celebrate? Okay, I'll leave you with that.